There's a predictable upsurge from the never Trump types who are rushing to the defense of Liz Cheney, who is on the verge, in fact, tomorrow, is likely to be booted as the number 3 Republican in the House to be replaced by Elise Stefanik of New York. This is virtually a done deal. But what the defenders of Liz Cheney say is, number one, they go, wait a minute, Liz Cheney is more conservative than Elise Stefanik. She has a more reliable conservative voting record. And that is, in fact, true. The second thing that they say about Liz Cheney is that she is being penalized for calling the Republican Party to truth. And the truth is that this election was not stolen, and the truth is that the idea that the election was compromised in any way is, quote, a big lie. Now, this phrase, the big lie, well, originally it traces back to the Nazis, but it's being used deafeningly by the left, and Liz Cheney has picked it right up. It's a big lie. And I want to address these points because I think they go to the heart of the matter. The problem with Liz Cheney first is this. The Republican Party is fighting desperately to hold on to our freedoms, our economic freedom, our political freedom, our freedom of speech, our freedom of religion, against an irredentist left that appears to have no compunction, not just about economic confiscation, but about running roughshod over our basic liberties. Liberties guaranteed to minorities, no less than to the minority, right there in the Bill of Rights. So the Republican Party is trying to do that. But that's not Liz Cheney's project. Even though she has a previous reliable conservative voting record, her main focus is going after Trump. Her main focus is ultimately fighting, you may say, an in-house battle. It's almost like you're, in the Civil War, let's say, for example, and one of the generals on the Union side decides the main problem here is Abraham Lincoln. He's the problem. He constantly lies. And so the Republican Party and the Union needs to divorce itself from Lincoln. Now, this would be seen, I think, by everyone on the Union side as a serious problem. That this person is fighting the wrong war and needs to be gotten off the field pronto. So I think that's part of the motivation for what's going on here. But I actually want to get to the point that Liz Cheney keeps repeating, and this is really her obsession, that it's a big lie that there were any improprieties, any shenanigans, any problems with the 2020 election. Most secure election ever. Now, the simple truth of it is that is a big lie. That is a big lie. There's no question that the 2020 election, and we're going here just upon information that we actually know, was different than previous elections. All kinds of things happened that are not normal. And it is a big lie that somehow questioning this and simply pointing these things out, and notice, by the way, the relentlessness with which the other side tries to block you. They try to censor you. They try to shut you up. Why would they do it? Why are they trying to block all these voter integrity laws? If, after all, no one voted who wasn't supposed to vote, then why not authenticate voters? If all the voters had ID, just like they should have, what's wrong with the voter ID law? Why can't you discuss something if there's no substantial evidence that anything was wrong? What would be the problem in talking about it? But it almost appears that when you look at all these signs, the attacks on all these voter integrity laws, the relentless campaign of censorship across digital media, that's the behavior that you expect from people who know this is actually not a lie. We actually got away with something here. Not only did we get away with something, we were in on it from the beginning. We were meeting with the Democrats. We were figuring out ways to block Trump. This preceded the election. And this is publicly known. There's no question that there were meetings between leftist organizations, meetings ultimately even between the Biden people and digital moguls in California about how to block commentary and posts about the election. All of this is fact. And the truth of it is, Liz Cheney knows it's true. She also knows that there were states that conducted practices in violations of their own laws. They arbitrarily extended deadlines. She knows that there was a massive volume of mail-in ballots, and that and it's known from before that absentee ballots and mail-in ballots have a much higher probability of fraud. How do I know this? Because the New York Times was talking about it almost consistently from the year 2002 all the way past the 2016 election. This was a consistent theme in the Times. And only now, after the 2020 election, has suddenly all this commentary been sort of erased. It's all disappeared. No one brings it up anymore. So Liz Cheney is not a dumb person. What is she up to? Well, I think in some way she's doing what Fauci is doing, and the virologists are doing. She's protecting, ultimately, a narrative. And she's protecting a very deceitful narrative. And she is conducting a campaign against Trump that is motivated by what? Family loyalty. Family loyalty. You have to remember that these powerful families, the Bush family, the Cheney family, you rise in those establishments through the family. How did we get Liz Cheney? Well, we got Liz Cheney because her last name is Cheney. In the Bush case, they were expecting that Jeb Bush would get to the presidency. Why? Because his last name is Bush. So there's a sort of understanding that the family is the elevator of these scions of the family, and therefore family loyalty is not just a matter of, oh, I love my family, I want to stand up for my family. No, it's a mechanism for my own success. Liz Cheney understands that. So her war against Trump is a vendetta because Trump humiliated Dick Cheney, made him look bad, made him look like a warmonger, in a sense, ridiculed the Iraq War and the whole interventionist program. And so Liz Cheney is vested in that because that's the system that created Liz Cheney.